Hello and welcome to Odds on Premier League 14th match day. We have new manager in Man United and we have Man United Arsenal. So let's analyze all the games with Tom Rennie and of course with you. Leave a comment below and don't forget, if you enjoy our videos, press on the like, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notifications. And now let's go on with the show. New match day, we have a lot of games in the middle of the week, 10 actually, and we have Tom Rennie and we have new manager for Man United. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing very well. I'm sure Ralph Rangnick is doing very well. Everybody's well.
Yeah, I had to Google his name actually.
Didn't. No, you didn't.
I have to tell the truth in this case, but you know more. But this is gonna be at the end of the show, the Man United Arsenal, because before we have a little bit of drama, starting with the game on Tuesday, opening the 14th match day, Newcastle, Norwich, and I'm kind of surprised to see these low odds for Newcastle. They are very favorites despite not having won a single game this season. 6 points from salvation. I guess this is the must win because they are facing our Norwich, still getting points. Tom, what do you expect here? Newcastle finally to get a victory?
Well, you say must win. I think you're absolutely right. It is a must win, but everybody must win against Norwich. If you lose against Norwich, you are going to be in relegation trouble this season. They are not a Premier League caliber squad. I say it to you every week. And yet Norwich in the last 3 games have picked up 7 points, inexplicably, unbelievably. Newcastle are behind Norwich City. How wrong must you have got it to be behind Norwich City at this point of the season? The answer is very, very wrong. Are there many green shoots at Newcastle? They were pretty pitiful against Arsenal, I thought. The game went exactly as I told you a couple of days ago, 0-0 at half-time. Arsenal win by a couple of goals because Newcastle were going to go there and be ultra-defensive, try and nick a goal on the break, crumble late on, and it's exactly what I expected from them. Again, the story of Newcastle is the same. Defensively, they are poor. They have no real quality in the central defence. Lascelles is a really good championship defender. Everyone else nowhere near it. All the goalkeepers are poor. Darlow against Brentford was terrible. Dubravka against Arsenal wasn't a great deal better. And so there's big concerns about them. Still the magic of Wilson and Saul-Maximin. And even Joe Linton, he can't score a goal and looks a bit discombobulated when he plays, but looks effective in this attack. So they can score, Newcastle. As for Norwich, Dean Smith has come in and done the right things in terms of who's rubbish? Well, Ozan Kabak is rubbish. I'll get rid of him then. Who else is rubbish? I'll get rid of them then. Who's good? Billy Gilmore? Yeah, let's play him. Todd Cantwell? Yeah, let's play him. You know, sometimes football isn't that complicated. Who's your good players? Who's your bad players? Play the good players, motivate them properly, and you'll do all right. Do I think Newcastle will win? What a question. What a question. Mm-hmm. I would not be confident enough to put my personal money on Newcastle to win a game of football. However, my policy, as you know, this season, and it's worked pretty well so far, is Norwich lose. Oh, I would say this game is going to be low scoring. It's going to be nervy. It's going to be edgy. And it's going to be a draw. Both teams score and a draw.
Okay, we have multiple options then actually. A draw when there is a drama is always very likely. Possibly it's also likely in our next game. Leeds Crystal Palace. Leeds right now is the first team marking the salvation actually in the Premier League. But still in trouble. They got a point against Brighton after losing against Spurs. And Crystal Palace, they got their first defeat after 7 games. Again, a draw here.
No, I can't fancy Palace, actually. I think Palace have looked really good. In terms of Leeds, I went to the Tottenham game a couple of weeks ago and did the commentary of the Brighton game the week after. And Rafinha didn't look fit enough against Brighton, looked nowhere near the sharp player we've seen for long spells this season. Rodrigo, it just doesn't work for him at Leeds. It doesn't. I'm not sure where he plays or what he does or what he offers to the team. That's not to say he's a good player, but the fit isn't right. Calvin Phillips came off at half-time. I don't think it was an injury. I think it was a tactical decision, which made no sense. I think Bielsa's kind of losing his grip on Leeds a little bit because they're doing what he's telling them, but it's not working. And his other idea, well, he doesn't have one. He has his Bielsa idea. He's not going to go 7 at the back and try and hold on for a 0-0 draw. And frankly, they were very lucky last week against Brighton to get away with a draw because Brighton don't have that sledgehammer to smash the ball in the net. If they did, Brighton may have won that by 2 or 3 last week. It was a dreadful performance. Might be a good point in the end. Still no Bamford. Cock and Ailing missing as well for Palace. You know, they've been very impressive this season, as I've said to you a few times, but I was disappointed with them against Aston Villa. I think that maybe they went into the game feeling they were favourites for the first time, and maybe that affected them because they had to be in the ascendant in the game, and Villa could absorb and break, and you know, they did it. 2 weeks running, Villa have done that. But I think Palace will be good again in this game. I think that they will be able to manipulate the Leeds way of playing. They'll manipulate those gaps, manipulate those holes that Leeds always give you because of the way they play. They'll drop one runner out right to make more space in the centre for another. The only person that won't really move is Benteke in the penalty box. So I'd be looking here for Palace to score a couple of goals. I think Leeds may well score one. Leeds may well score the first goal. But the longer this game goes on, the more I fancy Crystal Palace. Perhaps Leeds winning at halftime, Palace winning at full.
Well, that's a lot of money, actually, even going for a victory for Crystal Palace. As you mentioned at the beginning, is very good, 3.2 or even Asian Handicap 0 if someone wants to be a little bit more cautious, but still good odds if someone fancies Palace, as Tom does. Then Southampton, Leicester, back-to-back defeats for the Saints. They might get in trouble if they lose again against Leicester, who finally got a victory 4-2. Also Vardy scoring again and again. Tom, here again, Southampton favorites. Difficult to see them also favorites, no, against Leicester.
Really surprised actually to see this because Southampton have had some dreadful performances recently in the last 6 games. I mean, they lost to Norwich. They lost to Norwich recently. I mean, and they're favourites to win a game of football in the near future? What are you talking about, bookies? You know, they were pretty poor in that game. To be fair, if Alex McCarthy didn't throw the ball in his own net twice, that they may have got something from it. But he did, and he remains their number 1 goalkeeper against Liverpool last week. Look, teams get smashed by Liverpool, but it was still pretty pitiful the way it happened nonetheless. They beat Villa and they beat Watford before then, but there was a couple of really good individual goals in those games. Look, there's nothing new to say about Southampton. They're a really good 4-4-2 team. But if the 4-4-2 doesn't work or a couple of players are injured, they've got a chance to be beaten. And for Leicester, good to see James Maddison coming back to some semblance of form. He's such a crucial player to everything that Leicester do because he does something a little different, a little special that maybe some of the others do not have. Jamie Vardy scoring again. I expect him to score again here. I think the slow Southampton defence is perfect prey for someone like Jamie Vardy, so I'd certainly be looking at the Jamie Vardy to score market. My only doubt about Leicester is whether Johnny Evans and Soyuncu are going to be fit to play together. Without Evans, Soyuncu looks like a pub player, and without Yuri Tielemans, the midfield does look a bit light, actually. They don't have a great squad, Leicester. They do have a great team, and several of the team are missing, and that has caused many of their issues. But here, I'd be looking at Southampton to lose. I'd be looking at Leicester to score at least 2, and I'd be backing Jamie Vardy to get one of them.
Again, good odds if we go for the away team and not for the next game, as we can expect. We have Watford, Chelsea. They drop points. Chelsea against Man United. You expected, we will talk a little bit later about Man United, but you expect to be a close game. And actually, they drop points. So now they must win if they want to be still on top of the table against a Watford that, remember, their last home game was 4-1 against Man United.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Watford because I've been very impressed by their recent performances. I was impressed by them against Leicester despite the loss in the snow at the weekend. Great against Man United, as you mentioned. They have a goal threat, Watford, and that's something that's absolutely crucial if you're down the bottom of the table because there are so many teams that struggle down the bottom and you think, where are the goals going to come from? But they have so many players, Emmanuel Dennis, Ismail Assar, João Pedro, like several players who can score a goal for them. So that's going to be a bit of difference maker. The trouble for this particular game is the injury list is massive. Here's just some of the players missing for Watford in this one. Peter Atebo, Ken Sema, Ismail Assar, Emmanuel Dennis might not make it, Juraj Kuchka, Nkulu, the centre-half, Ben Foster's a doubt. You know, 10, 11, 12 players could be missing for Watford. You can't afford that. Nobody can afford that in the Premier League, let alone Watford, despite their kind of miscellaneous starting 11, if you like. But there's some really good performers right now at Watford. And I think maybe Moussa Sissoko might prove to be one of the shrewdest transfers of the most recent transfer window. Never good enough to play for Tottenham Hotspur. Never good enough to be at the top level of the Premier League. But incredible work rate, incredible effort. And he does the basic things well, and every now and then has a flight of fancy and really impacts a game. So I've always liked Sissoko, and I think he's at the right team now. For Chelsea, I was at the game on Sunday where they did the same as they did against Burnley. Dominate the play, dominate the ball, create plenty of chances, get in the attacking third, not really look like scoring. And in fact, there were a couple of defensive howlers. One led to the goal, Jorginho's mistake. Mendy passed straight to Fred. Anyone else, and Man United would have won the game. So there's some concerns about Chelsea. And I said to you at the start of the season, Chelsea will win the Premier League this year if Lukaku scores 20 or more goals. And thus far, that has not happened. Mm-hmm. And he came off the bench on Sunday and looked real rusty. Like, they did not want to bring him on in that game, which is evident in how late they brought him on, right? But for this game, I expect Lukaku to start because, frankly, he has to. Score a couple of goals, take him off. Don't bring him on late. Get him running around to get fitter. Mason Mount must come back in. Pulisic must come back in. Ziyech isn't going to cut it in the Premier League. You know, how many chances does that guy need before he proves he's not suited to this division? But that all being said, Watford's injury list, Chelsea being significantly better, I see it being a bit of a return to the Leicester performance as opposed to the Man United performance. Asian handicap it here, at least 2. I expect Chelsea to win 3 or 4-0.
Okay, easy victory then for the Blues. We have good odds for the favorite in the next game, West Ham Brighton. Odds around 2.0 for your team to win after back-to-back defeats, but still in Champions League spots. And this is great starting the month of December. And Brighton probably is a good team to play against right now, winless in the last 8.
West Ham don't beat Brighton, though. They don't beat Brighton. They don't win at home. They don't win away. Their record against Brighton since Brighton have been promoted is pitiful. They just can't beat them. It's one of those weird anomalies. I think West Ham they haven't come off the rails as such. They had 2 real tough games away from home. Wolves outplayed them. Man City outplayed them. They were in both games. They weren't thrashed in those games. West Ham don't get thrashed. But they certainly were below par in those matches. And Mikel Antonio has stopped scoring. It might be 9 now without a goal from Mikel Antonio after his great start to the season. That's a massive concern for West Ham. For Brighton, I've done a few of their games this season, and it's the same story so often. They do play lovely football. I think Lallana will come back in. Didn't play against Leeds. Trossard is a brilliant footballer. Those players link up with each other expertly. They get in the penalty area, and Neil Maupay literally couldn't score an open goal from 4 yards against Leeds. Right? So what do? I think they drop the striker, Brighton, and go back to having that kind of blob midfield. So Lallana comes in and Maupay goes out. I think that they will have a decent amount of possession, but that will play into West Ham's hands. West Ham got to be careful of Tariq Lamptey, who I think is an exceptional footballer. I mean, they've got him from Chelsea. I think he could go right back to the top of the game, Tariq Lamptey. Sensational right-sided player. Offensively, there aren't many more skillful players. Weird that he's a right back and not a right attacking winger, because he's better than most wingers that I've seen going forward. So I expect West Ham to have a plan for that. They went 3 at the back against City. West Ham, don't see that happening again. And I think West Ham will revert to a more familiar formation of the 4-2-3-1. My heart says this is going to be a West Ham win because West Ham are better than Brighton and they've got better players and they're at home and they need the win. But West Ham don't beat Brighton, and that does play on a gambler's and a footballer's mind. And so I actually tip a draw here. Oh. I would say a draw on both teams score. Maybe West Ham score first, Brighton score second. That'd be the end of it. Low scoring, draw.
Okay, draw. Good odds. We always like to bet on draws because the returns are very high, very, very high. Then we have Wolves Burnley, and I lost a little bit of money, Tom, in the draw of Wolves against Norwich. We had good odds for them to win, but we saw a goalless draw. I expect them also to beat Burnley, a team that they were getting good results actually after that suspension that we know because of the snow. Against Tottenham, should we trust Wolverhampton again or not?
Yeah, that was damaging last week. That was a real surprise, actually. They should have won the game, Wolves, on balance of play, but couldn't score against Norwich City, who are maybe one more result away from me changing my system. But the thing is with Wolves, a few players out, right? Ruben Neves missing for this one. Pedro Neto's been out for a long, long time. No Bolly. Pedent's missing again. So they've got a few offensive players missing and a few key players missing. Neves could be a massive loss for this one, suspended after his 5th yellow in the last game against Norwich. But I still think with Trincao, and I still think with Hwang Hee-chan, I still think with Jimenez, they have goal-scoring threat. I still think in Jose Sarr, they've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And I still think defensively, they're very, very strong. I don't think they will get done by the spinning, swirling Burnley ball in the same way that some teams are. I know Burnley have had a bit of a rest following the game against Tottenham being snowed off, but, you know, what difference does that really make in terms of the way they play? Not a great deal. The threat for Burnley is Max Cornet. I say it every week. I think he's sensational. The goals he scores, the way he plays, the effort he puts in. The longer they can get performances like they've been getting out of Max Cornet, the more likely it is that Burnley will survive in the Premier League. But in this particular game, I would be looking at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers to keep a clean sheet. If they stop Cornet, they stop Burnley. Low scoring. I don't see a great deal of entertainment in this one. I would suggest that Burnley nick it by the 1 goal.
Odds around 2 again. If you back Wolves, so you double up your money, not bad at all. Then we have a very interesting game in Villa Park because Aston Villa Man City looks interesting after the arrival of Steven Gerrard. 2 games, 2 victories against Crystal Palace and Brighton. But this Man City, again, they look really unstoppable. 5 consecutive victories. Can Gerrard stop the citizens? No.
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, they've done all right, Villa, since Gerrard's come in. It's interesting when a new manager comes in because it does take maybe 4 or 5 weeks for their ideas to start coming across. At the moment, they're still playing on the motivation of playing for Steven Gerrard. And that's been great, actually, from Aston Villa. There was certainly a motivation lacking going into the previous 2 weeks. And they've done what a lot of clubs do when they get a new manager in. They do the basics well. They work very, very hard. And the goals they've been scoring, the John McGinn goal last weekend against Crystal Palace, it was sensational. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, and he's gone back to top form recently. Injuries have cleared up as well for Villa, something that Dean Smith didn't have. So only Traore of note is going to be missing for this game. Good to see Douglas Luiz return in the last one as well. He was sent off and then it was withdrawn quite rightly. He's a crucial player to everything Aston Villa do. So I think Villa will put on a sterling performance, actually. I think that defensively they look like that they can hold a team like City for a while, with Luis in that team protecting the deficiencies of the likes of Tyrone Mings and the other centre-halves they have. But how do you stop Man City? You know, West Ham did everything last week, right? They did everything to stop Man City. They were holding back Man City and a snowstorm, and they still fell apart in the end to Manchester City. They still allowed somehow Fernandinho to score his goal, his first goal in 3 years. Players missing, De Bruyne's missing, Ferran Torres is missing, might not play for City again if rumours are to be believed. Laporte is out, Grealish missing, Foden missing. Yet don't really matter because the players they've got are equally as sensational. I think this will be quite tight, actually. I can see it being a similar game to the West Ham game. I think City will win. I'd back them to score a couple. I wouldn't bet against Villa scoring one, but City will take it. Both teams score. Look at City for at least 2, potentially Asian handicap if you're looking for a 2, a -2 sort of number. But yeah, all sorts of City win.
Okay, both teams to score looks good. I would be surprised actually to see Ferran Torres going to Barcelona, especially with the money they have. But let's see. Then we have a Merseyside derby, or what is left, no, about Everton, because they are really bad, terrible form. Another defeat against Brentford, 3 games without scoring, 7 winless games. So problems for Benitez, and Liverpool is not the best team right now to welcome in your house. It's time for the Reds probably to harm the neighbours.
Here's your big one. Here's your big one for midweek. Look at least 3-0. Go massive on this. I'm telling you, Liverpool are going to batter this Everton team. I've watched Everton a few times this season. I'm doing this game in midweek. I was in Merseyside a couple of weeks ago speaking to some Everton fans, and everyone is so despondent. They're so despondent. Nobody wanted Rafa Benitez, right? Rafa Benitez is a good manager, but he had to start well. He didn't have the goodwill of the fans coming in. He had to start well. He has not started well. Why has he not started well? Well, the injuries have been a killer. Still no Calvert-Lewin. Still no Yerry Mina. Richarlison should be back after his suspension, but I don't know about his personal fitness. Tom Davies is out. Andre Gomez is out. You know, the injury list is massive. It has been for a while, though it's a bit clearer than it has been recently. But then how do you get a system of play from a team where it's built around one player, Calvert-Lewin, who's not been fit all season, and no one else is a like-for-like replacement? Rafa has not come up with that answer. The football is very negative. It's very safe. And, you know, it's funny. I did a comparison piece a few weeks ago between Rafa Benitez and David Moyes, and it feels a little bit like David Moyes has updated some of his ideas while he was away from coaching. He had some terrible times. And he worked for UEFA. He went to Germany and did some training. He studied RB Leipzig. You know, he's done a whole bunch of things where he's tried to update what he does as a coach. I'm not sure Rafa Benitez has done that. He went to China for the cash. You know, it's a very different sort of thing, right? And he looks like a man out of his time. And a new idea is needed very, very soon. Otherwise, Everton are going to be in massive, massive trouble. For Liverpool, scoring goals for fun, despite some of the injury issues they've had. Jota and Mane and Salah up front all starting this game look fantastic. You know, the midfield still has a couple of issues for me, but I think that they'll probably be able to play Jordan Henderson in this game. They'll be able to play a strong midfield. I expect Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's played well, to play in a game like this. And defensively, no issues at the moment for Liverpool, which is weird. The fullbacks are fit, the centre-halves are fit, the keeper's fit. They must be baffled by it all. I expect Liverpool to absolutely batter Everton, to be honest. I think their motivation will be there. I think that all the players being fit is a massive difference, and I would be looking for at least 3-0, maybe even 5. I think they're going to destroy Everton in this game, and I think this will be maybe the last game Rafa Benitez is in charge. 3-year contract, but if you lose 5-0 at home to Liverpool, which I think they will, that might be Rafa gone by Thursday. Asian handicap at least 3. Double it up with maybe all 3 of the front 3 scoring. Certainly Salah, certainly Jota. Sorry, Everton fans. I'm sorry.
Wow, it was a lot of cash, what Rafa Benitez got in China, but yeah, he looks a bit outdated. Talking about new managers, Tottenham, Brentford, now is good time for Conte to get some points because the calendar is quite easy for Tottenham, Brentford, Norwich and Brighton and Brentford, despite they bounce back finally beating Everton the past weekend. They are not in the best moment of the season, so I guess Tom, now or never, not Tottenham have to get good results.
Yeah, I think they will get good results. I think they will win this game. They haven't really had enough games under Antonio Conte as yet for them, a bit like Steven Gerrard at Villa, to have an Antonio Conte style about them. At the moment, he is just working on motivation. He's working on trying to assess some of these players. One thing we do know is that all the players that played against Moura are likely never to play for Tottenham again. They won't play for Conte again. Their complete lack of effort was atrocious. What he needs is to find the first team. Find the first team, play the first team, forget about rotation and all that sort of stuff. Antonio Conte can treat basically all of this season like an extended training session, a season mulligan, if you like, because he can just pick a first team, play them as often as he can, find the best way to play and focus on next season already. He's already been given a pass on this season. I think that Tottenham need to find a way to get Harry Kane in the penalty box. There's no secret or no great deep analysis in that. You look at Palace putting Benteke in the box, get him in the box and we'll get him the ball. Kane needs to go back to being that sort of player. The trouble is Kane has tried to carry this team on his own and he just can't do it because the other players are nowhere near his level. Maybe Son, maybe Moura, that's about it. Everyone else is nowhere near deserving of being on a field with someone of the quality of Harry Kane. That all being said, Brentford, as you mentioned, are struggling right now. The injury list remains massive. 1 or 2 have returned, but still no Jorgensen. Sergi Canos is injured now. Norgard, Rico Henry, David Raya, Christopher Aya. Basically the first team. And certainly the defensive side of the first team is all missing. They've got to grind out results against crap teams, which they did against Everton a few days ago. I think there's every chance Brentford could scramble for a draw here. They'll come into the game for a draw here. So I don't discount that market, but I would look for Tottenham. I'd look for Tottenham to win without conceding by at least 2 goals.
And our last game is Man United Arsenal. Very interesting in many ways. We have new manager for Man United, Ralph Rangnick. Arsenal beating Newcastle, but they are always struggling against big teams this season. The odds are quite good actually for Man United, around 2.09, because as you said, Tom, after Solskjaer's departure, everything had to go better, and they beat Villarreal, they drew against Chelsea. So I guess we should expect a home victory here.
Oh,
no,
I don't know. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, lovable though he was, has left a bit of a husk of the club behind. He's left a team with no character or personality behind, and he's left a club in desperate need of leadership. That's what Ralph Rangnick's been brought in to give, first as manager, then consultant, or whatever the hell he's going to do afterwards. I've no idea. They already have a director of football and a load of jobs for the boys there, so I'm not sure what he's going to do afterwards. We'll see. But I think he'd like to be manager for another 2 years, if I'm honest. But we'll see when he's given his first press conference, and we'll get more of a feel for him. He certainly loves being the technical director of teams. He did the Red Bull group, and he has done it other places, but he's never managed anywhere as big as Manchester United. Not even close, really. So it's the biggest job of his career, and I'm sure he'd love to be manager for the next 2.5 years, not just consultant in 6 months. But anyway, Man United, I went to the Chelsea game, as I mentioned, at Stamford Bridge, and they played exactly like Burnley did. You know, it's what you do if you're a poor team going to a good team. You go 4 at the back, you go 1 holding midfielder, and you go 5 other players that are basically defending, but maybe break away if you can. They scored a goal on the breakaway, but apart from that, they barely got over the halfway line. It was a brilliant performance if you have no expectation. But I think we have expectation of Manchester United because they have Ronaldo and Sancho and Rashford. And I won't list them all, but it's ludicrous. Watching Jadon Sancho basically running around after the ball, you think, what a waste of resources. Like, why did you bring this guy in to be, Mark Noble, and put the effort in and chase people down? You brought Jadon Sancho in to get him the ball and take on fullbacks. I know he scored, but he scored out of pure fortune. He scored because he showed who he really is for a few seconds, not what the tactics demanded of him. So it's a massive job at Manchester United. The goal is to finish 4th. The squad's an embarrassment of riches. They should finish 4th at a canter, but there's massive organisation to do from the ground up at the busiest part of the season. So it's going to be very, very tough. For Arsenal, you know, they love the flat track. Against poor teams, they overwhelm them. Against good teams, they tend to struggle. But I don't think they're going to a good team. They're going to a team who are a real mid-table Premier League team. They're going to a team on a very similar level to them. It's a very, very even game. I'm surprised to see Arsenal almost double the odds of Man United, and that really tickles my fancy. I really like the look of that. Look, we might get a new manager bounce, and you know, the funny thing about this one is I can see that all results are possible here. We might get a new manager bounce and Man United thrash Arsenal. We might get a dismal 0-0 draw, as we often get between the once Super League Big Six, or Arsenal might go there and score a couple of goals as a better organised team, which they are. And if I'm putting my money down, looking at those odds, I'm taking Arsenal. I'll take Arsenal to win at Manchester United. If you want to make it fancy, I would add level at half-time, Arsenal win by full. But Arsenal to win is my tip for this one.
Oh, I'm surprised. We have very good odds, as you said, for Arsenal. Even the double chance for Arsenal or the Asian Handicap 0, all are very good, seeing these very high odds for the Gunners. Then, Tom, let's put together some results and see your ACCA and make some money, perhaps, these midweek games.
Yeah, after I got let down by Wolverhampton Wanderers last week, I'm not going too fancy this week. There's big teams away from home who will win. So there's a quite simple and sensible ACCA to be done this week. Chelsea to win at Watford, that will happen. Man City to win at Aston Villa, that will happen. Liverpool to win at Everton, that will happen. And why not make it fancy? Arsenal win at Manchester United. There's my 4.
Okay, we have good money. Then, if everything is correct in your accumulator, Tom, we will write down the odds and let's try our luck. Thank you, Tom. We will see each other very soon. We have more videos.
Good. I look forward to seeing you again.
Of course. Bye. I hope you enjoyed the video. You have now all the tips for this match day in the middle of the week. And of course, I also want to know your opinion. Don't forget and leave your tips and predictions for this match day in the comment section. And of course, press on the like button, subscribe and click on the bell to get notifications. Or if you prefer as well, we have a podcast for you. See you soon. Enjoy the Premier League.